in closed session.
Okay. And at this time, I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Thank you. And under ceremonial matters, at this point, I am going to read a proclamation regarding, declaring May 6th as Give Where You Live Day in the city of Placerville. And get to the right page here. A proclamation declaring May 6th, 2014 as Give Where You Live in the city of Placerville. Whereas on May 6th, 2014, the El Dorado Community Foundation will join hundreds of community foundations across the country in a 24-hour giving challenge through a national campaign called the National Day of Giving, excuse me. This unprecedented event is a celebration of giving by many donors, which will not just bring additional funding, but increased awareness of the nonprofit sector who work tirelessly to make our community a better place. And whereas the El Dorado Community Foundation has been planning and preparing our version of the National Day of Giving, named Give Where You Live, designed exclusively for our own community of El Dorado County. This virtual event will showcase El Dorado County nonprofits and give you an opportunity to support them by funding a need. And whereas a need could be $5 for art supplies, $40 for diapers, $50 for sports scholarships, $100 for a family counseling services, easy gifting avenues will be available online with a credit card on your smartphone by dialing 555-000, and then there'll be an offer of codes for different charities at the El Dorado Community Foundation office at 312 Main Street in Placerville, or at the El Dorado Savings Banks throughout the county for walk-in gifts. And whereas the El Dorado County Office of Education Internet Technology Department has developed the El Dorado Community Foundation's website at www.eldoradocf.org, where you can click on Give Where You Live and quickly learn how you can join in the fun and excitement as the ticker rises, and together we make a huge difference. Now therefore I, Carl Hagan, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Placerville, state of California, do hereby proclaim May 6th as Give Where You Live Day in the city of Placerville, and encourage all our community to fund a local need. Thank you. And then at this time, Mr. Bill Roby and Megan Buchanan will come up and speak with us. I'm going to bring down the proclamation.
Through.
Start over, Bill.
That was pretty wordy going through that proclamation. There's a lot of verbiage in there that really sums up what we've been working on since this last fall. And it takes that much planning to bring something like this on the scale of what we're doing for one day of giving. And we really couldn't do it without the support of the board of the directors of the foundation. I want to acknowledge them and their personal commitment to the community, and also to the tireless work of Megan Buchanan, who has joined the foundation January 1st. And I'd like Megan to come up to explain a little bit in simpler terms what Give Where You Live is. Megan.
All right, so I'm Megan Buchanan. Mayor Hagan kind of covered a lot of stuff that we're working on for this Give Where You Live Day. A few important points to remember is that it's this May 6th. The important website to remember is eldoradocf.org. And from there, you'll see a list of all of our participating nonprofits. There are 50 at this point. They're all local. They all do some sort of service in El Dorado County. And it's just been a really great opportunity for us to see the collaboration that can take place when we try to start something like this. Bill and I were on the radio today. You know, we're going to be in the Mountain Democrat several times, and it's just really exciting. I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff, but you can always contact us at the El Dorado Community Foundation and just pay attention on May 6th and choose a nonprofit and give what you can. You don't have to give a lot, but even just a little bit works. And Karen Good is here from the Marshall Foundation, which is one of our participating nonprofits, and she kind of wants to tell a little bit about what maybe the experience has been as a participating nonprofit. That's all from me.
Great. Thank you, Megan.
My name is Karen Good. I'm the Executive Director of Marshall Foundation for Community Health. Also the President of the Association of Fundraising Professionals locally and in the Sacramento region. And since 1976, our family has enjoyed living and working here. We've enjoyed everything from our local county fair to the city's Christmas parade. And for the very first time, we all have the opportunity to join other nonprofits together to give where your heart is, the place that we call home. This day of giving will impact lives. It will help us to reach out to families in need. It will lift up children and seniors alike, and it will provide healthcare resources for our community. I'm humbled to be a part of this effort because it's not about the dollars that will be raised. More importantly, it's about the lives that will be changed, making this a better place to live and a place to work side by side to improve things for all of us. And I thank you for this proclamation, and I thank you for your support.
Many of us are on different boards of directors and have received the Give Where You Live logos to post on our websites and on our smartphones, our Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts. And that's the key, is sending that out to individuals and friends so that they know there's an opportunity to give to several different charities in this community, over 50. Many of us already participate in those, but I think it's a challenge for all of us to see what else we can do. So, and I think it's an opportunity for us to brag a little bit about the charities we support. So, thank you guys for being here. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I'll move on to item 6.2, declaring April 13th through 19th, 2014 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in honor of our public safety dispatchers. Chief Heller.
Yeah, last week was National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, a week designated to honor those who perform the dispatching duties for law enforcement. When a member of the public or an officer needs help during an emergency, dispatchers become their lifeline, ensuring that the appropriate assistance is contacted and en route to whatever the situation may be. We just wanted to I wanted to take a moment to recognize the hard work of our dispatchers and our support professional staff, because quite often everybody sees the uniforms and the police cars and the lights and the sirens, but there's a huge amount of effort that goes on behind the scenes to make all that work, and that is the folks that answer the phones 24 hours a day and get those resources where they need to go and coordinate between the different agencies and emergency medical and fire and police, et cetera. For example, within the Placerville Police Department, our dispatchers were responsible for dispatching approximately 14,000 calls for service last year from our communications center. They also assisted about 6,500 customers in our front lobby of the police department. They processed approximately 1,700 crime reports from their clerical duties, and conducted approximately 1,250 live scan sessions, which is the automated fingerprint session there in the front lobby. That, along with a lot of other duties, abandoned autos and whatnot that they follow up on, and the tow reports and everything else. So anyway, coincidentally, our communications center is being not really remodeled, but new furniture put in it this week. So a lot of our dispatchers have been working out of our partner over at the Sheriff's Department, working out of there because we have redundancy built in. So they're working out of there, and one of them's in training. So some of them probably couldn't be here. So again, a testament to their hard work. So that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. At this point, and again, I'd like, on behalf of the City Council, I'd like that word to go back to thank them for their hard and tireless efforts and their hard work that they do on behalf of the city and all of its residents. Item 7 is public comment, brief non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. State law prohibits the council from acting on items not listed on the agenda except by special action of the city council under specified circumstances. The mayor reserves the right to limit your time to 3 minutes. And if anybody has any other questions on that, we'll get into it. Do we have any written communication at this time?
None tonight, Mayor.
Okay. So at this time, we'll open the mic for oral communications for anything, comments anybody would like to make or questions on items not on the agenda?
Good evening, City Council. Mike Drubish, Placerville. I just wanted to share that coming up on May 3rd at Old City Hall, Vindler Real Estate's going to throw a fundraising event for Old City Hall from 5 to 9 p.m. So hopefully bring out the people and find out what can be done to help Old City Hall. And also
What time, Mike? What are they?
5 to 9 p.m.
Did you say? Okay.
Saturday, May 3rd. And I spoke to the gentleman in the office, and he was thinking of music in the back and barbecue and whatever he can put together. And then along that vein, I volunteered to help restore the old balcony. The only thing I need is to get some measurements off the recently removed balcony. So just hoping that we can coordinate that with the city and get that done. And it's going to take some time to turn those spindles and such, but so hopefully move forward with restoring the old City Hall.
Great. Thank you.
And as the foundation is that proverbial penny that's always around, we're partnering with the real estate firm and housing the fund for them to make sure that we can assist in what their goals are. So again, the foundation is a part of the old City Hall, as we are a part of the community. One of the things I wasn't able to do when I was up here is to thank you. Thank you for the proclamation, but thank you for the critical support each of you give to the foundation. We would not be the success we are today without the people that are sitting up before me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for nice words.
Bill, may I ask?
Sure. You have to ask me first.
That's what I'm asking you. Can I ask Bill a question? You talked to me a while back about a possible grant for the arts community, and you were going to talk to our city manager. Has that transpired yet? I just
That
wanna
is,
remind
we
you-
just had the conversation. I touched base with the individuals in DC today
Okay.
and have the requirements for the National Endowment for the Humanities. So we're going to be moving forward on submitting the grant application. It's due June 11th, so the time frame is very, very short. So we're going to have to do a little scrambling. We have a meeting next week with all the principals to come together. We'll divvy out who's doing what on that grant application, and we're going to get
Great.
it out the door.
It sounds really exciting, I think.
It's
so.
up to $100,000, and anytime $100,000, that's exciting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Anybody else in the audience that wishing to address the council? Seeing nobody approaching the dais, I will move to the next item. We are then on item 8, the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. The reading of the full text of the resolutions will be waived unless a council member requests so. Any items that need to be removed, 1 through 5? Seeing none. All right. Any comments from people in the public regarding items 8.1 through 8.5?
Sue Rodman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My concern is with 8.5. I think this is a good project. A bike path is needed from Highway 49 to Canal Street along Cabelac Road. We also need to continue that bike path along Canal Street. We have 2 school sites on Canal Street, both Markham Middle School and El Dorado High. However, I have some concerns that I would hope that the council members also noticed in the staff report. The first item that caught my attention is liquidating $117,650 of Proposition 1B revenues from the Placerville Drive pavement repair project and appropriating it to this project. It seems a little like robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I'm wondering, I think Placerville Drive definitely has some needs for attention. The second thing that caught my attention is this seems very less than transparent. I would think and hope that an adopted project budget as listed in the report would be a lot more realistic. I can understand some minor increases, but when standard items such as $15,000 for staking were not even originally included, and engineering costs triple the adopted budget, along with triple management costs, I'm a little appalled. There's a 40% increase just in Carlton engineering, and the staff time of almost $20,000. I can't find it anywhere in the adopted or the proposed budget unless it's lumped into the $10,000 for engineering design, which is only half of that, and then the proposed is $41,000. That's a 314% increase above what was adopted as the project budget. The survey is the only item in between adopted and proposed that shows no increase.
Thank you.
Staking as standard procedure wasn't originally even there. Even the contingency is 233% above the adopted, or up 30%. I'm sorry, and project management is increased by 233%. The total is that this proposed is 46% above what was an adopted project. I'd like to know why the adopted project budget is so far from this current proposal. I thought an adopted project budget actually meant something. And I can't track the finances through this, and it seems like it should be pretty simple when all we're doing is widening an existing street and adding a bike path. So it brings to my mind the question of why would I vote for a sales tax increase when I'm seeing a 46% increase in what I think is not that complex a project.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
Item 8.4. Somebody wanted to ask a question that couldn't be here tonight, and so basically wanted to know, going forward with this item tonight, would not be going against the judge's order in any way. Is this correct? And then the question I had was 1, 2, 3. On the third page of the agenda packet, California DOT Amendment Modification Summary. I know that the council has said that you have not made a decision on what type of intersection there would be, but when it says type of work, replace bridge / construct roundabout, just caught my eye and was wondering about that.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments? Seeing nobody else approaching the bench, I'll close the public hearing. So at this point, just a couple of quick answers, if we could get them from, on 8.5, Nate?
I'd be happy to address those questions. The first, I believe, was the use of the Placerville Drive Repair Prop 1B funds,
Correct.
and that's twofold. One, we're leveraging, funds against the bicycle transportation account grant funding that we have for the Cumbelic Road project. So it's typically a good use of funds to apply toward an outside source and leverage those funds. And the reason that the project is more expensive both in construction and design is originally, as scoped, the project was just widening and did not address the condition of the pavement of the overall road. So we spent some time analyzing the pavement condition and determining that it needed a full overlay. So there's additional cost in pavement, and I'll admit that the adopted budget was underestimated on some aspects, combined with spending more staff time and consultant time than originally anticipated. So I'll admit to that, but I think it's a good project, and we're ready to go to construction. I'm excited. I've got Nicole here sitting with me. Adding her to the team in the engineering division has been very valuable. She's been able to get these plans out the door and go to construction, so it should be a good project.
Okay. And
Excuse me, let me ask him, Nate, so the money that you took from the Placerville Drive was for a bike, that was for dedicated to bike path? And you're switching it to this bike path? Is that, did I understand you right?
No, as I understand it, the money that was for the Placerville Drive pavement
Just for the pavement?
project, was not for bike lanes. It was
Oh.
it was for, when I first hired on, there was a contemplated using that for a rubberized chip seal on Placerville Drive. I believe the city received $400,000 in Prop 1B money toward that project, and it wasn't adequate for the full scope, and it's been used for other purposes.
I know we've been chipping away at it. So, same way as Placerville Drive. Okay.
And then, is there any additional comments, Mr. Morris? I mean, that's my understanding too, is that the Placerville Drive project would have been substantially more than that because of the number of repairs that would have to be made prior to the chip seal.
Right.
So that's why we've moved it from one project to another, but we still have those funds and we're still using those. And I understand this particular project has obviously become a little bit wider than we had indicated originally when we first started looking at this estimated budget. So.
And also the road was in a lot worse condition than they
Yeah,
thought.
well, yeah, not counting the condition. If anybody drives on that road recently, they know that we'll also be fixing some of those really bad spots in the road. Carol?
I have a question regarding the overall increase to the budget, since it was an approved budget of X amount and then it jumped, as Sue said, 46%. At what point does it have to go back to bid again? Is there a rule?
Pardon, back to?
Go back out to bid? I mean, if Martin Brothers was the low bid at 250 and now it's up to 372, should,
No, Martin Brothers bid is 250. That's what we will pay for the construction portion of the bid, of the project, correct, Nate?
The others.
The other pieces are other costs.
Oh, okay.
Theirs is
I
only the
misread it
250,
then.
and that's all we'll pay for them. So that's a good bid.
And some of the engineering
see.
and design work is internal, so we're billing for your time and your
Yes.
staff's time.
okay, I
Right.
apologize.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the other item, Mike Drobish had a question on, basically on 8.4, and the resolution there is we are just complying with the court orders, and then the subsequent requirement of the state and feds to acknowledge that our request.
Well, in answer to Mr. Drobich's comments, the action tonight is a funding action, and it's not a construction action. So it's not violating the court order. In fact, it's helping comply with the court order by providing funds for the environmental document.
Right. Okay. Any additional questions of staff? Okay, I'll
I move
entertain a
for-
motion.
I move for adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Been moved and seconded.
Vice
Roll
Mayor
call.
Borelli,
Aye.
Mayor Hagan,
Aye.
Councilmember Patton,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Hi.
All right. So under item 9, ordinances, none are scheduled. Item 10, public hearings, none are scheduled. Discussion and action items. We are on 11.1, which is an adopted resolution continuing the declaration of a drought state of emergency, adopting updated Stage 2 drought regulations as approved by El Dorado Irrigation District on April 14th, and implementing said regulations. Mr. Morris?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to also note you already introduced Brian Mueller from EID, their engineer, and Bill George from their board. They're here to answer any questions that I may not be able to answer on this. But I did hand out to you it's still in draft form, so they are not distributing yet, but their actual draft drought action plan that they have completed, and that's with the amendments that they made last Monday at their meeting. When they made the changes to the Stage 2. And I'm going to make this somewhat simple in that the main change that is made is they are now instituting mandatory watering days. And you have those listed in your report. And I can run through those quickly. Outdoor irrigation is limited to the hours of 7 p.m. to 10 a.m., so the evening hours. Irrigation systems must be turned off during rain events. Watering days are based on street addresses. Once a week watering is allowed from November 16th through April 15th. For customers with addresses in even numbers, for customers with odd numbers, or even number is Sunday only, odd numbers are Saturday only. That's for the previous period we just went through. So twice a week watering from April 16th to June 15th. So that's basically the period that we're in now, and September 16th through November 15th. And for even numbers, Wednesday through Sunday, odd numbers, Tuesday through and Saturday, and then 3 times a week from June 16th to September 15th. Even numbers, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, odd numbers, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I'm meant to talk to our finance director, but I believe we're going to put something together to go out in our next utility bill to send to our customers to outline this. All of the other provisions that were previously adopted under the Stage 2 drought alert that EID adopted are still in place, and there's other provisions that we went through when you adopted this the last time. So that is the main provision that is changing, and with that, I'll answer any. We're asking council to adopt a resolution that adopts those same provisions for us. We could look at other options. We could look at doing it differently than what they are. I think it is important to do that, and I think it is important to probably stay consistent with EID, since half of our city is EID and half of our city is not on their water system. It's on the city system. So staying consistent, I think, is also important in following what they have adopted, so it's easier to communicate with the public. So with that, I'll answer any questions, or if you have any questions for either Brian or Bill, they're here to answer those also.
I have a question. I'd like to know, and maybe I missed it, and maybe it's just going to make sense, but on the days that watering is allowed, is it like you can water as long as you want to? Or, I mean, as long as you're not, flooding the sidewalks or anything? Somebody could water for 2 hours and then, so.
One of the things that I was sent by AID that we're going to take a look at also is their water, I'm trying to think of the right word, water waste ordinance that they have. And we're going to look at following. We already have one in place, but it's very minimal. It's one paragraph. They have a fairly detailed one. And water wasting is not allowed any time of the year,
Right.
not during just this time. So if you're letting water run into the street from your irrigation, that's a violation, and that needs to be stopped.
But if you don't have a street, you know what I'm saying.
But still, if you see water runoff, but answer your question, as long as we don't see that it's being wasted. Now, you could also look at it and say, if you see somebody running their sprinklers from, like I say, from 7 p.m. till 10 a.m. Every time they have a chance, that could also be considered a water waste, and we could take a look at that, so.
I have a question.
Yes.
So it says, in section 5, that the city agrees to implement and enforce such actions immediately upon their adoption by the district. What choices do we have? It sounds like we just have to adopt them.
Well, technically, yeah, that's the way it reads, and we should do that. I think there may be some options as long as we were complying with what their requirements are to cut down to, say, 3 days a week. Let's say that we decided there was another way to do that worked better for our system, as long as we were restricting it to 3 days a week. We could look at some other options that way, so.
Thank you.
But one of the things that our contract with EID to provide our wholesale water is that we comply with their drought action plans. And that's part of our contract, I believe. And it's been that way for several years. We can implement it slightly differently if we wanted to, but typically it's easier to go along. Just give you an example. At SACOG this last week, the city managers throughout the region are meeting to try to get common terminology and nomenclature in their drought plans so that all the cities in the region, all of the counties in the region use similar terminology and similar types of control. Not that they all have the same regulation and they all have the same implementation process, but so that when it goes to press, that the people in El Dorado Hills understand what the Mountain Democrat is saying in the city of Placerville and El Dorado Hills. It's the same. So that our regulations are similar, our terminology is similar, and that we can all work together better if we speak the same language, if you will, as far as that goes. I'm not saying we should all speak English or Spanish, but I'm saying that when it comes to water terminology,
Water language.
it's probably a good idea to speak in gallons instead of cubic feet, which I've talked to you two gentlemen about that in the past, because a lot of people know what a gallon of milk is. They damn sure don't know what a cubic foot per 100 cubic foot of water is. I know Bill does, but he's an engineer. So anyway, at this point then I will open it up to the public. Are there any questions or concerns with this current water regulation 11.1?
Good evening, Michael Drobish again. I was just wondering if there's going to be mandatory days and hours and such. I imagine there will be penalties. There would have to be. So,
At this point, there are no penalties involved, so I'll answer that.
okay.
But there.
But when and if, then how will that process work? I mean, if the city is so understaffed now, they can't even do code enforcement and other things. Who's going to be the water police? Will you accept a neighbor's phone call complaining about someone they hate next door? I just see a can of worms opening up there. So, yeah, and also I thought I heard that EID's drought plan is in draft form. Is that true? It's not complete?
Current drought action plan is.
It's in draft form?
That's correct.
Let me explain that if I can, Mayor.
Sure.
What happened is they made changes last Monday night in their board meeting. They're putting those changes into their drought plan, which was already adopted, but they're making those changes. They've made those changes, but in draft form, they're reviewing it and make sure it complies with what the board adopted right now. So that we're just waiting for that final document.
Okay, good, because I was hoping that the city wasn't going to adopt something that wasn't completed yet.
No, the provisions we're adopting are the same as what they did. It's just the final document, making it consistent with what the board adopted.
Thank you.
And as of yet, there are no penalties other than the consideration of as you go to a higher tier, your rates go up. So it's a rate imposed, and that most likely will be the action that most of the counties and cities do take in the future. It's my understanding anyway. Mr. George might be able to answer that. You have a question also?
Well, I'm sure when Mr. George gets up, it has to do with the baseline rate, because it was a good point the last time we had this discussion when someone said, well, I already have cut my water by 30% or even more, and yet my neighbor who uses 600 cubic feet or whatever, I don't know the nomenclature, if you will, what an average household uses. So at what point does that person who uses so much more get penalized? How do you make that fair to all users?
Bill George from EID Division 3, including the city of Placerville. The real answer to that is you can't, but with the way to try to do it is, and we will have an item on our agenda next Monday night considering a surcharge of 30% on Tier 3. Now, Tier 2 starts at 1,800 cubic feet, and Tier 3 starts at 4,500 cubic feet. There are 748 gallons in a cubic foot, in 100 cubic feet. Okay, and a cubic foot is 7.48. So write that down, keep that in mind. And there are charts available on the internet all over the place for converting, because water is measured in flow and cubic feet per second, and I mean it gets real crazy, and I have not committed them all to memory. But the plan is for the large users, those that use above the 4,500 cubic feet, which is a lot of gallons. Okay, 4,500 times 45 times 748. There would be a 30% surcharge on that tier. Now, the way the surcharge is going to work is that if you save 30% over what you had been using, your rate will be your bill will be about the same. So you're actually going, if you go over that, or you don't serve the 30%, then that will, then you'll have to pay more. The biggest problem with that is if everybody saves, our income goes down or your income goes down. So there's a problem there as well. But then we're at stage 2. So there are 2 additional stages of drought in that plan. Stage 3 is where things get really difficult, and of course you can apply surcharges to the other tiers as well. We're trying to stay away from the first 1,800 cubic feet for people that are on fixed incomes and what have you, because as a public agency we can't have a lifeline rate. It's considered a gift to public funds. So that's just, and we can make, as a board, we can make changes to those regulations if we want. As far as the gentleman asked about the water police, with a district the size of ours and your city, it's almost impossible to do that. And what we're hoping to do, at least in our case, is for our field people, which comprise a lot of guys and gals out there in the pickups working on the infrastructure and fixing leaks and what have you, that we will ask them on their rounds if they do see waterways to report that. When in 1977, I wasn't here up in the area here or on the board in 1977. I don't think I would have lasted that long. But there were extreme fines that were implemented to people who didn't save water, because at that time you could walk across Sly Park. So the main reason we're asking for this is that even though our reservoirs are actually in pretty good shape this year, because we do own about 95% of our water rights, so we can move the water around to have it where we want it. We've moved, over the last 2 years, we've moved 6,000 acre feet into Sly Park. An acre foot is 325,000 gallons, so that's a lot of gallons we've moved over there. The reason we did that is so that we're planning to have a minimum of 25,000 acre feet in Sly Park by the end of the year, so that if we have a dry year next year, we have a little cushion. Not much, but a little. So everybody pray for rain. But does that answer your question, or do you have more questions? I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Well, the baseline rate, and I think you answered it mostly. At what point is it built into your drought action plan that at a certain stage you implement a surcharge on level 2 or level 3? Right now you said it's just level 4. Is that right?
No, it's on well, there's no surcharge at the moment. We will be voting on whether to apply a surcharge to Tier 3.
Oh, tier
There are only 3 tiers, okay? But there are no plans, and we may, at some point, if we don't get the conservation, we may have to go to 30% on Tier 2 as well. Because what happens, you were talking about people say, well, I'm already conserving. The vast majority of people who have been conserving are the only ones who are going to be voluntarily conserving. I'm sorry, but people are people. And so, yeah, is it fair? No. But and we're doing everything we can to try to, because we do have, as the city manager indicated, we do have a fairly strong water waste ordinance that we enforce. Again, we have to be able to see it, and in fact, it happens so many times mostly with CSDs and golf courses and so on. But one of the things we found out, like Serrano, for instance, and of course they've got the wherewithal to do that. Serrano Country Club and Serrano Homeowners Association have implemented a plan where they hope to save 50% of their water use. But they're spending, big bucks. I don't remember the numbers offhand, but tens of thousands of dollars to improve their system, and they're checking it every day. And of course, they've got the personnel that are dedicated to doing that, so they could do that. But if we could get other CSDs and homeowners associations, particularly, to do those kind of things, or at least police it a little bit more, because a lot of times, at least in the bigger developments, it's the homeowners association who runs the watering system. So,
Does EID?
Go ahead.
Does EID have a service where you can call? Can you come out to my house and give me a water conservation check over?
yes,
audit?
yes, we do, and they'll do both internal and external.
And is that free?
Yes.
Do we have that at the city?
But EID does.
EID does it.
I believe EID does that for us.
So a city.
EID at least will offer all of the water-saving appliances and products at your office for our city residents.
Well, we did. Yeah, we did. That program, I think, is over now. But we do give recommendations on different kinds of watering systems, outdoor watering systems, the newest and greatest things available, so that you can check soil moisture. Because the vast majority of people water way too much outside the home. That's probably the biggest water waster in everywhere you go. And the worst offender is sod, grass. Anything else?
And
Mr.
then
Mayor,
Dave,
if I may,
yeah.
the city does participate in the water efficiency program through EID. It's actually an addendum to your water supply agreement, and all the programs available to EID customers are available to City of Placerville water customers as well.
It's good to know.
Good. So, thank you. All right, so at this time, we'll bring it back to the council for action.
Did you close it?
Did earlier. I'll close the public hearing if I didn't. I think I did earlier. I asked
You just said
Mr.
you
George to
bring-
come back to answer some questions.
I'll move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimously. All right, item 12, council reports. We did not have a transit authority meeting, I know that. Transportation Commission meeting, LAFCO, none. Sedcor?
No, but I did get an email from Randy, and besides what I already had mentioned about the loans, I already ran this by Cleve, and he was going to get the word out. And what he said is, I was hoping to alert you to the fact that my organization, Sedcor, in conjunction with Golden Sierra Workforce Investment Board, is planning to offer a one-day free of charge 9 to 4 workshop targeted at local business owners. And I wanted to extend an invitation to you, again, free of charge, for us to mention your organization as a supporter of the events. and he attached press releases, but they are going to conduct classes all pertaining to economic development and ways that businesses might consider to upgrade or start, whatever. So I sent, you were going to be in touch with him, or you just went ahead on your own and notified the?
Yeah, I've already started. I've notified PDA. I believe we have it up now on our website, and we're putting it on our Facebook page also. So, and I'm working on contacting the other two business associations to inform them. I know PDA has already put out the announcement on
Good.
their through their email list.
This Randy Wagner, our new CEO, is just really a go-getter, and he's just all about helping business. So I hope the folks up here in Placerville take advantage of it, of the classes that they're going to offer.
All right, thank you. SACOG had a meeting last Thursday. We're again working on the Transportation Development Plan for 2016. This takes up a substantial amount of our time. And at this point, any requests for future agenda items? Item 13? Seeing none. Items pulled, none were pulled from consent. City manager staff reports. Update on Mr. Rivas on 301 and 305 Main Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What I'm going to do is start with a very brief background of the other projects just to bring everybody up to speed. Then I'm going to discuss the permitting history, and then get a little bit more involved with the current building permits that are in play, okay. And then basically give a summary of the status of the project. So let me just start by saying it was back in January 19th of 2010 when the Planning Commission approves the demolition request to actually tear down both buildings that are located at 301 and 305 Main Street. And those buildings are known as the Hangman's Tree Bar and the Herrick Building. On February 23rd of 2010, the City Council approves the demolition of both buildings on an appeal and then orders the fencing of the sidewalks. And then following that, on March 6th of 2012, Sue and Tim Taylor purchased the property, and the buildings will no longer be demolished. So the first order of business was to apply for the land use entitlement. They submitted a site plan review application on May 1st of 2012. On May 16th of 2012, that site plan review was reviewed by the Historical Advisory Committee, and they made recommendations to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission then on June 5th of 2012 reviewed and approved their site plan review, and essentially the site plan review was to approve of the building elevations and the re-roof of the building. The first building permit applied for was a re-roof building permit, which was issued in October 25th of 2012, and that permit was canceled by the contractor. And then in July 1st of 2013, an encroachment permit was issued to the Taylors, and this encroachment permit was to allow for the construction and related encroachment onto Main Street. They're at 310 and 305 Main, and this would include closing of the sidewalks, blocking of the parking spaces, close the sidewalk along Center Street, and periodically close between Main Street and Stagecoach Alley. Excuse me. Erect scaffolding along the south, west, and north sides of 301 and 305 Main Street. Install the K-rail along the Center Street and Stagecoach Alley for scaffolding protection. And then on August 22nd of 2013, the K-rail was installed. The permit conditions include a safe pedestrian path around the site and the closure of the sidewalk at the nearest accessible pedestrian ramp and installation of temporary ramps, which have yet to be installed. The Taylors have provided a pedestrian path, but have not maintained it. The city did install a current path of travel. No temporary ramps have yet been constructed, but the sidewalk does remain open. We have 3 existing building permits that are in play, and I'll discuss those briefly. The first building permit was for the structural stabilization, and that permit was issued on May 28th of 2013. That was for the structural stabilization of the buildings only. Plan check fees for outside consultants, Taylor's request, are still ongoing. Then we have the next permit that was issued. Oh, all three permits were issued on the same date. So issued again on May 28th of 2013. We have the permit for the re-roof. At that time, the roof material details were provided, and the permit is conditioned such that the details must be submitted and approved before inspection. We still need engineering and the plans for the HVAC roof platform that has been constructed. We still need plans for what's actually technically called a monitor. That's the structures on the very top of the roof. It's been called the doghouse. And the building was last inspected on October 15th of 2013 for the re-roof, and that was with the tear down. And then we have a building permit for the HVAC, also issued on May 28th of 2013. No work for the HVAC itself has been done. No details have been provided. The permit is conditioned such that details must be submitted and approved and include any plan check on the engineering for the new rooftop unit before inspection. No known work done to date other than the platform. The HVAC permit is eligible for expiration, but still remains open to date. So some of the outstanding requirements with respect to the structural building permit currently, and this is like this current time, we still need engineering calculations for the weight load bearing footings from the project's structural engineer. We still need a letter from the adjoining property owner that work was performed that involved the adjoining footing of the adjoining building. And that work was last inspected on April 17th of 2014. In other words, the footings, the forms are in place, the rebar is in place, and they're ready to pour once we're able to sign off on the calculations. With regards to future site plan review modification required, we would still need a sign plan, outside lighting plan, and any change in roof material. For example, if the material from what's currently approved is to be a metal roof were to change from metal to asphalt shingle or some other kind of material, that also would require a modification to the existing approved site plan review. And with respect to the new roof monitor, the monitor was considered by staff to be an insignificant change from a previous smaller monitor structure that was located on a flat rooftop deck that was also shared with an air conditioning unit. So the new HVAC will be located on the yet to be permitted by a building permit platform constructed on the lower east side of the roof, which remains largely not visible from most locations and not visible from Main Street. So that's the current status of the building. The encroachment permit will expire on July 1st of 2014 this year. And at that time, they could come in and ask for an extension depending upon where they are on the project, if the scaffolding and other encroachments are still required onto city streets and pathways. And with that, that's an update on that building. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Okay. And I guess, sorry, Mr. Morris?
Yeah, I just want to add just a little bit. We have had quite a few discussions with the Taylors. They are working on some things that they want to come, I think on May 22nd, they'll be coming back to report on some additional items as far as scheduling. It is their intent, what they've told me, is to have the extent of the project done so that they can remove the scaffolding and open up the sidewalk prior to the July 1st expiration of the encroachment permit. That is their intent. And they're working towards that. And I believe at your May 22nd meeting is what they intend to state what those things are that they need to get done and how they plan on completing them prior to that date.
Okay. Any questions? Carol?
Incredible report, thank you. So you're telling me that the monitor on the top of the roof was in part of the original roofing re-roof permit?
It was not submitted as part of the original site plan review application. So if you look at the elevations on the original approved site plan review, it is not shown. But originally the building, and I have a photograph here I'd be happy to show the council if you wish to see it, and it's an aerial view that we were able to obtain from Google. But anyways, it essentially was a flat roof decking on the very top. It had a smaller, so I think it was, as far as the elevation, I think it was a little lower in height, but it had another doghouse, or what we'd call a monitor feature. It was a venting, or to allow light to come in feature. But it also, that deck was shared with air conditioning unit. So now, from staff's perspective, it was actually an improvement, less intrusive than what was originally on the rooftop. So we did not require that they go back through a site plan review process for the monitor, or the doghouse is what people call it.
But now the HVAC unit is going to be on another platform, if you will?
Yes.
Is that true? Was that part of the original re-roofing design? Or
No.
was the HVAC was originally going to be on the peak and now is moved to the side? Is that accurate?
No, I think it was our understanding, even though it wasn't shown on the drawings, that the HVAC system was going to be placed on the east roof line, so it's more in that valley with the adjoining building, and it's not visible. So we again, staff, we don't feel that would be a change that would warrant going through the site plan review process. But when the original site plan review process was considered by the Planning Commission, some of the outstanding plans that do need to be submitted, of course, would be the outside lighting plan and any sign master plan if they're going to include any future signage. And then, of course, if they want to change the roof material that was originally proposed from metal to some other kind of material, that would also require then a revisitation of the site plan review to be reviewed and considered by the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Okay, and my questions had to do with the scaffolding primarily, and the clearance of the encroachment on the city sidewalks and the length of time it's up there. But if that looks like their plans are going to be completed by July 1st, that answers my questions. I don't see any particular reason for them to come before us unless there's some other changes they're going to make, or for some reason they need to extend beyond that date, in which case there's a process they should start sooner than later. I would assume our advice would be, if you're going to extend or request an extension on the encroachment permit, they certainly need to approach the development department and find out the process and get that started, because we are.
Well, and wasn't along with the concern being that fencing, wasn't
Right.
that supposed to be gone a long time ago?
No.
Okay,
That's
so
what the answer is, July 1st.
So that was supposed to stay up the entire time?
I think sooner than later would be better, but.
No, I
but-
thought that was going to be the first thing that was going to be removed, is that fencing along there. So
Well, I
I
think
thought
once
it
they
was
had-
supposed to
once
be.
you have the stabilization and.
Okay, yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
Yeah, just the encroachment permit does include that fencing encroaching
Gotcha.
on the sidewalk, so which runs through July 1st. So ideally, it would be great for all of us if it could have been done earlier, but it does allow them to go through July 1st.
Great, thank you for the report.
You're welcome.
And upcoming items, tentatively scheduled for May 13th. Proclamation for May as Mental Health Month. Anything else?
There will be other items, we just haven't identified for sure what they're gonna be
Right.
yet. So we won't do a meeting just for that one item though, so,
Oof,
but we will have a
good.
meeting, so.
I thought you were talking about the mayor's mental health, but that's, thank you. They left another M off of there. And then the other item is that on Tuesday, April 29th, at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., there will be a neighborhood chat. It will involve the public is invited to an informal meeting, local topics. And this one will be on the subject of sales tax and measure, and also the paving project for Main Street. That will be again 6 p.m. at
Town Hall,
Town Hall on the 29th, Tuesday the 29th.
next Tuesday.
Right, next Tuesday.
Also-
There will be a meeting also on Friday here for Main Street Matters, the painting project. And then the following meeting, not gonna ask that. The following regular city council meeting will be May 13th.
Carl, what about the walk, remind the walk in her shoes? The-
Saturday there will be Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Not Wakamatsu, it's Walk a Mile. Wakamatsu is our sister city. Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, so it's your opportunity to come out and support the center for, formerly known as the Women's Center, regarding sexual harassment, sexual abuse. So to help make people aware of that. So we have a lot of nonprofit projects going on this next few months, as always. So again, thank you all for being here.